All right, syncopated systems. What are business systems? Okay, so back in the day, you probably used to hear the word policies and procedures. There were those really nice leather-bound books that used to sit on the shelf, and somebody really smart wrote this amazing process on how we were going to do all these things, and they typed them and put them in a book, and they went on the shelf, and then they just got dustier and dustier and dustier. I mean, I used to have them. I think I bought them. I don't even know where they came from. But really, they're not doing anything. They're just gathering dust. But now systems are very different. Systems actually are something that you need to implement as many as possible. So now what can systems do for you? All right, so they can improve your efficiency. This is in every area of the studio. The systems in place, you can just call up a system to remember how to do anything, and everybody has access to that. So the consistency is there. So I can type in, it could be anything, how do I type an invoice? I get the same answer as the girl next to me doing that. So the consistency across the board is we're doing it the same way. Time saving, I don't need to tell everybody all the time. New staff come in, I don't need to tell them everything. It's in the system. Yeah, so it's in our set of systems. It's also consistency and continuity across classes too, because, we are not always in the studio at the same time as every trainer or as the office staff. Sometimes we're in and out because we're not working 9 to 5. It's not what we do. And well, some of the full-time schools might, but they're still there longer than that because you've still got your costumes and all of those sort of things. So it helps across the board knowing what is the process to order those costumes. Everybody knows the same process because it's recorded in your system. Reduces stress. I don't know if anybody else gets to concert time and goes, I can't remember how to do that. Like I've done it 33 times and I actually can't remember how to, because I haven't done it for 12 months. Yeah, so having that system in there, mine are mostly videos, I can go, oh, that's right. Reduces stress, don't have to worry, I know it's somewhere in my system. Scalability, you're not going to get a lot bigger unless you are able to replicate things, make sure everything's done well and you can build on it, especially if you wanted to open more than one studio, which is hard in itself. But having your systems in place would be helpful with that. Improve communications with everyone, with the team, with the students, with the parents, because the systems are in place. The parents know we have an intranet, which is an internal internet. So an internal website, we had two. We had a team internal website and a parent internal website or student internal website. And it's free. It's just on, it's just in Google Sites. And I mean, you can still make it pretty and everything, but it doesn't have to be full on because it's not your sales website. But everybody knew where everything was. So we weren't handing out newsletters every year with the same information. We were saying, go into your internal website and type in concert, type in what does my class, it all came up, yeah. Takes a little bit to organize, but once it's there forever. And it improved all communication across the board. Enhanced student experience because, trainers we found, or teachers we found what they were up to, and we were all on the same page. Financial stability, of course, because it's going to help you improve your, you would have like a management system, but you'd also have like an accounting system. So it's going to improve all of that. Data management, much easier to find stuff, where everything is. New team onboarding, you don't have to tell them anything. You go, here's the link, look at that first. And then if you've got any questions, ask me. Staff empowerment, if staff have access to be able to use that Google site to add things themselves. I used to have team leaders for each group. So you would have the team leader of preschool. She can add to the preschool part of the intranet. So you can add to that so that all of the team have the same process to greet parents, to answer whatever questions the parent has, or where to direct them if they don't know. But there was a process that any team member could just quickly call up on their phone even. Professional images, but professional image, it does make you look more professional because you know what you're doing. Like there's no question. You always know what's coming. Everything has a system and helps you achieve goals 100% because you have a system to do so. So your new rule, if it has to be done more than once, make a system. Okay, I know that sounds weird, but if it has to be done more than once, make a system, and then you might want to just delegate it, because sometimes new things are not necessarily in your pay grade. They're like way below you. But if it has to be done, make a system. Me, I prefer videos. You make the system and then somebody else can take it on board. You know, you never have to worry about it again, or you might be something you do need to worry about again. So just imagine, right? So totally relaxed, reading a book on an island in the middle of term because your studio is running perfectly with all of the systems you have in place. And that is me in the middle of the year. And then in my toes, my book, that's Tony Robbins, just in case you're wondering what I'm reading, sitting on an island in the Philippines in the middle of the year. Like, that would never have happened once. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to worry because the place just runs. What about attending every one of your son's soccer games, even if they're in the middle of your big dance class day? So my big class dance day was Saturday. And my eldest son did play soccer, and I did not see one of his games until he was like year 10, like 14 or something. So I didn't want to take Saturday off. I felt guilty. I felt like I had to be there. You know, I just didn't take any Saturdays off, and I ended up missing all of that time. My youngest ones, I see everything. I go to every hockey match now with the middle one, or, you know, whatever it is. But I can go now because I have the systems and I'm not scared to leave the place. And I wasn't even scared. It was more guilt. Working on your exit plan. If you have systems in place, your business is going to be worth a lot more. It's got a lot more value because you're actually selling something. You're actually selling the systems as well as the students and, you know, the class lists and everything. Then you can live on the island, which would be pretty cool because it's a pretty nice island. But you see what I'm getting at. The systems are going to mean that you can step away a little bit if you want to. You don't have to, but it's going to be helpful if you want to step away at all. All righty. So how do you create these systems? Okay, it all sounds good in theory. How do you do it? So Zoom, I like Zoom because we all learned how to Zoom, didn't we, during lockdown? Some of my team use Loom. They like that. My phone is probably my biggest, getting on my phone. Google Docs, you can write them and you would store them all in your Google Drive and then link them to your Google Sites. They're all free. So none of that do you have to pay for. You could do all of that for free, but you just have to do it. Yeah. So you can record whatever it is you want to train them on. I'll just open up and I'll just say, this is a training on. Record what the training is, sometimes share screen, sometimes just talk. And then you can get a program that will convert that to text if you wish to have it text as well. Then I save it in the area in the Google Drive, and one of my team puts it onto the Google site so everyone can access it by just typing. So much easier. It's not the only way. Don't get me wrong. You can have this paid ways. You can do that too. That's just a free way, like free stuff. Okay, so some examples of how the systems might work and what you might want to create. Some of these will be in your CRM and you won't need to create them. So your class scheduling and registration, automate how your students enroll in classes and things like that would potentially be in your customer relations management program. I only have experience with Dance Studio Pro, with DSP, but obviously students could enroll while I was standing here and could have 10 enrollments. Like, students can enroll anywhere they want. The class is already there. It already tells them how much they're going to pay because I've put everything in. Don't have to worry about any of that. Curriculum development, making sure there's consistency across the styles and the levels and the ages and stuff like this. This would be a good one for your team to be able to add to an area and be able to say, okay, well, the junior jazz on Tuesday is doing this, the junior jazz on Thursday doing this, where are we up to? What are the steps we'd like to reach in term 1, 2, 3? Or, it might be it might be more costumes and stuff like that, but still you can develop the curriculum. They can develop whatever they need to so that there's continuity across the curriculum. If it was something, say, like Southern Fed or Shikedi or one of those, and you wanted to keep the theory notes and any anatomy, extra anatomy and stuff like that they needed to learn, you could pop that into the Google site and they could access it there. Could also do that with Google Classroom, which I can show you later. So that would be curriculum development, communication and customer service. This is just like so much easier. You don't do newsletters and emails that they don't read, because let's face it, they never got that email. No one ever gets that email. It's always your fault because you didn't send it to them, or I don't know. But there's always something. So this way you would just be always giving them the link You don't give them the information, always give them the link until they get used to going onto the internal website and just finding the information, just typing it in and finding it. As I said, it takes some setting up, but once it's there, it's there. Yeah, they can put anything in there. They're handling feedback. Feedback would probably be using your Google Forms to send out to get feedback, and then having some sort of system to then deal with them. Staff management, onboarding, training, all of that stuff, that's perfect for having your autoresponders, but also having that in your internal systems. So any questions they can type before they come and see you and annoy you. Attendance tracking would probably be in your CRM. So you probably wouldn't have to do that manually. Financial management, depending on what your CRM is. I had a separate accounting program, but that would probably do that for you, but still a system. Costume recitals and planning, depending, some programs, CRMs have that. Others, you would want a system for to tell people, your costume coordinator, if you have one, how they're going to order costumes, to tell each teacher how much they can spend, or, what color their costume needs to be, or what their theme is, that sort of stuff. Marketing, promotion, of course, across your socials, keeping track of what you did before. Some of that stuff you can rinse and repeat. You might have a system. It might be simple because you might have everything in Canva and you just have in your system, see this link in Canva. Like, it could be simple, or it could be you want to keep everything in a spreadsheet and put that spreadsheet in your system so you can just call it up. Student progression and assessment. That's really important when you're looking at flight risks and stuff like that, making sure that in my class, I might say, oh, Brendan's a flight risk in my class, he's really unhappy. And another teacher might say, yeah, me too. So we know we need to deal with that. He might give up. Whereas if we did it in my class, he's not engaging. Someone else says, well, he is in mine. So, okay, what do we need to do? Is it the class? Is it the teacher? Or is it the style? What do we need to do? Let's talk to the parent or whatever. But, having that cross communication can sometimes be really helpful. And I want to take the student up. Do you think they're ready? All that sort of stuff as well. Management of the actual facility, protocols, safety measures, if all the first aid stuff could be popped up there, who wears the hat if there's an emergency, and where the first aid kit is, all of that stuff could be just in a system that's easy to access. Of course, event management. Events are one of those things where potentially we don't do them, there's that 12-month gap. So having the systems in place for that, so you can just kick them back in October, that will automatically, I need to kick back into this, or it might be you started in February, whatever, but you've got that system in place to know when you need to start working the events. Health and safety, again, it's your first aid procedures and stuff. Performances and show production. You could probably use systems like, I know some of the young ones use the systems with the choreography. I've got the link for you later. And they plan all of their spacing and stuff like that. That's another system you can put in place. The younger teachers especially kind of like that a lot of the time. But there's things that you might want to use, you can pop in there for rehearsing and stuff like that. Also knowing the timetabling for the shows, who needs to be where at what time, that can all be put in. Inventory, do we need to order more of our jackets? We run out of jackets, but we don't need any more tutus, like, whatever it is. And improvement and feedback system on that, which we've talked about being really important, even though it's not the most fun one. So once you systemize everything, so this is a system, it can be this simple. Honestly, I didn't know this was a thing until I was in my 50s, but apparently, and at the Melbourne event, like half the people put up their hand and said, yes, this is a thing that bothers me. So is it the beard or is it the mullet? So is it the beard or the mullet? Apparently the beard is right and the mullet is wrong, which I can see. But that's a system. And literally, if that bothers you, the toilet paper bothers you, you shouldn't be doing the toilet paper because you're the CEO. If the toilet paper bothers you, put that in a system and tell your cleaners, whoever's cleaning for you, this is what I want to see. Yeah, so it's that simple. It's not a big deal. Sounds like a big deal, and it's a little bit to set up. What's a bit to set up? But it can be that simple.